I know you love your partner, but you're tired of being responsible for all of the emotional work in the relationship, of having to act like your man's therapist or even his parents. You feel like his emotional mom, soothing his overreactions, managing his moods, translating what he's really feeling. You wonder, why can't he just take responsibility for himself like an adult, right? And who's there for you? How are you supposed to have a strong partnership when he just shuts down, turns to sarcasm, or starts scrolling on his phone? If you're done trying to teach emotional maturity to a grown man, this video is for you. Hey, gorgeous, welcome back to the channel. I'm Nicole, holistic relationship coach and creator of the Happily Ever After method. On this channel, I cover all things love with some non-toxic living and healthy eating thrown in there because your relationship health is part of your overall wellness and vice versa. Today, I'm going to show you why focusing on his emotional immaturity is actually keeping you stuck, and how to shift your energy back to where your real power lives. I'm also going to share a personal story with you, my own experience with stepping out of this exhausting and unhealthy dynamic, and how it relates to a classic clip from the movie Dirty Dancing. So make sure to watch until the end. Before we dive in, I want you to grab my free relationship success checklist. It's going to help you get crystal clear on what daily actions you can take to rebuild your connection and finally see signs of improvement in your relationship fast. The link's in the description below. Okay, let me start things off with a powerful reframe for you. What if it's not his emotional immaturity that's keeping you stuck or headed towards the end of your relationship, but rather your focus on it? I know that might sound off-putting, but stay with me, please, because this realization is where your real change begins. I was misdirecting my focus for 3 years in my relationship with my husband. I'll admit it. I'll be the first to admit. We were stuck in a negative cycle we just couldn't snap out of, and I was worried it was going to be the end of us. So I see you, I hear you, and I've been in your exact shoes. When I had my epiphany, what I'm going to share today, I took a 180 in my approach at rebuilding our connection, and that's when I finally saw progress. My husband became less emotionally reactive. He started taking things less personally, and he was putting clear and proactive effort into fixing us. Now let's define emotional immaturity, because it isn't obvious all the time. It's not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it just looks like a partner who shuts down when you try to connect, someone who avoids deeper conversations or makes a joke when really you need empathy, someone who gets defensive when you express something vulnerable. And most importantly, he doesn't connect his behavior to the emotional impact it's having on you. His emotional world is just underdeveloped, meaning he struggles to recognize, express, or especially take responsibility for his feelings. He's not in tune with his own inner landscape. So intimacy, which requires emotional presence and awareness, feels threatening or uncomfortable to him. And it's not that he doesn't care or he can't care, it's that he lacks the emotional vocabulary and capacity to meet you there consistently. So you've probably learned to fill those gaps by explaining, fixing, over-functioning emotionally. You become the one who carries the relationship, but the more you do, the less he has to, and the less attraction you feel towards him. And that's the problem. You even start to wonder if this relationship is worth saving. Or maybe part of you thinks, if I can just say the right thing, if I can just help him see it, he'll change. If I can persuade him to go to couples therapy, the therapist will finally get through to him. He's an expert, right? You're convinced that once he gains that self-awareness, he'll become emotionally present. That's your heart talking. That's your desire for connection, and that's okay. But it's also how you end up carrying both sides of the emotional load. And quite frankly, it's just not how men work. Here's the pattern most women don't see. The more you analyze his emotional immaturity, the more entangled you become in it. You start studying his moods instead of setting your own boundaries. You start tracking his own growth instead of your own healing. And every conversation becomes a test. Will he finally show up? Will he finally react appropriately, right? And every silence feels like proof that he won't. And your nervous system starts living in a constant loop of hope, disappointment, and then self-doubt. You're not wrong for wanting connection. That's your love for him. You're not crazy for wanting more. You're deserving of that. But here's the shift. Your healing doesn't begin when he grows up. It begins when you stop making his growth the condition for your own peace and showing up as your best self. Because the moment you stop orbiting around his behavior, you start coming home to the true you. But when your healing revolves around his growth, like I said, you lose the one thing you can actually influence, your own alignment. And let me tell you a personal story here about the word crazy, because the word crazy has so much meaning to me. Because also, you're not crazy, but you might be driving yourself crazy. And I can relate to that. So listen up. During the rough patch I experienced with my husband, we would argue like almost daily. Every day I would just pray we would get through the day without an argument. And I was full of resentment towards him, but I still loved him deeply. I knew that. The problem is I felt completely disconnected from him. It was like we were on two completely different wavelengths. He didn't seem to understand my feelings. He was acting distant, and I saw no effort from him. And I wondered if we were going to make it. Something needed to change, but therapy wasn't an option for us. He wanted nothing to do with that. And that's okay. I'm so glad we did not go that route. But anyways, one day we had this big fight and he called me crazy. And I remember that word hit me so hard, first of all, because we never, ever name call, and also because he was right. And I was in our bedroom, I remember, and flashbacks of previous arguments were just flooding my mind. And for some reason, in that moment, I could see myself objectively. I was actually acting crazy a lot of the time. Not always, of course, like I'm not going to gaslight myself. But the thing is, I knew I wasn't crazy. So I sat on the bed and it's like the skies opened up for me and suddenly it was clear. Then it was kind of like that no one puts baby in a corner moment, but Patrick Swayze didn't come to my rescue. I did. I knew the real me was awesome, but it was buried deep down and I had lost myself. But I was going to pull myself out of this. That fight was the pivotal moment that redirected my focus from his emotionally immature behavior to how I was showing up in the relationship. I was going to show him and the world that I wasn't crazy because I wasn't. I was just acting that way because I didn't know what I know now. I didn't have the tools that I share on this channel or any of the skills, and he was wrong. I know who I truly am. And I didn't only think that, I took action. I started taking better care of myself physically and emotionally again. I started learning about relationship energetics and attraction. I improved my communication and discovered how to create harmony as a couple. And I did it in a magnetic way, not in a way that pushes him away, which is where I see a lot of women go wrong. Now I get to share it all with you on this channel and in my coaching work. And let me tell you, it only took a few weeks for my husband to start noticing. Our whole dynamic shifted to a place where it felt like we were back in the honeymoon phase, but way better, of course, because now I had wisdom. So what does that mean to peel your focus off of him? It's not cold. It's not giving up. It's about recentering and becoming intentional. You start asking new questions like, am I being true to my real self and values? Do I feel emotionally regulated enough to have this conversation right now? What could I be missing? Like, what am I not seeing here? These are the questions, deeper questions you start asking yourself. And when you start leading yourself emotionally, something shifts. You stop reacting and you start responding. You stop managing him and you start mastering your own energy. And that's when the real change happens, whether in the relationship or even beyond it. That's when the real change begins. Emotional maturity isn't about getting someone else to meet you there. It's about staying grounded even when they can't. It's about being the lighthouse, like a beacon of light. And ironically, that's when the dynamic often starts to change. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped orbiting around his growth, like I said earlier, and you started honoring your own. Then emotional mature behavior from your partner is attracted to you. So again, It's not about forcing him to go to therapy. That's always an option, of course, but it's about being so awesome yourself that you bring it out of him too. When I shifted to this approach, my husband started reading articles about relationships. He even downloaded a relationship app to help us work on it on his own. I didn't ask him, and I never expected him to do that. If this message hits home, it's probably because a part of you is ready to stop fixing and start embodying. So download your relationship success checklist below. It's the exact actions I teach my private clients to help them rebuild connection without losing themselves in the process. You don't have to wait for him to change to feel peaceful and in love again. You just need to come back to where your real power lives, inside of you. So we've just explored what to do when your partner seems emotionally immature and how to stop feeling stuck in this dynamic. But to truly rebuild connection and your relationship as a whole, you need to understand what builds an unbreakable bond in love. So watch this video next where I reveal my happily ever after method, the exact process that took me from worried my relationship was over to getting us back to the honeymoon phase, but better.